There is a shot in the new Spider-Man trailer. He sits on a steel beam, hundreds of feet above a city that is still moving, still breathing, still full of people living their lives. He is holding a phone. On the screen, two faces, Ned and MJ, laughing at something just off camera. He watches them the way you watch something you're not allowed to have anymore. He pulls on his mask, and then he falls. That shot is 3 seconds long. The trailer was watched over 700 million times in a single day across all platforms. The most viewed trailer in the history of cinema. Millions felt something in those 3 seconds, and the internet loved it more than any other trailer from the MCU. We witnessed what seemed like a schadenfreudic celebration of a broken hero. So why is it that, of all the versions of Spider-Man, people love to see a depressed Spider-Man? To understand why this version of Peter Parker has moved people so deeply, you have to go back to the moment that made him this way. At the end of No Way Home, Peter Parker made a choice. Not a heroic charge into battle, not a sacrifice made in a moment of adrenaline and glory. A quiet, deliberate, fully conscious decision to erase himself, to ask the universe to make it so that no one who had ever known him would remember his name. He did it to protect people he loved. He did it knowing exactly what it would cost him. He did it, and then he watched the people he loved most look straight through him. And he let them. That is not a superhero moment in the traditional sense. There is no explosion, no triumph, no crowd cheering. It is simply a young man standing in the wreckage of his own life, having chosen to be good when being good meant being alone. And then he went home, to an empty apartment, in a city that no longer knew his name. Brand New Day begins 4 years later, and what the trailer shows us is not what those 4 years did to the city. It shows us what those 4 years did to him. There is another image from this trailer that the internet cannot stop talking about. It is not an action sequence. It is not a villain reveal. It is a Spider-Man costume, red and blue, slightly worn, tumbling around inside a laundromat washing machine. In the entire history of superhero cinema, few images have ever said more with less. Think about what that image contains. Think about everything it implies. The suit is clean because it has been used. It is being washed because tomorrow it will be used again. There is no one else in frame, no friend helping, no mentor advising, no team waiting. Just the suit, going around and around and around. This is what devotion looks like when no one is watching. The great superhero stories have always understood something that the spectacle sometimes obscures. That the costume is not the symbol of power. It is the symbol of commitment, of the choice made over and over again in small and ordinary moments to keep going. Peter Parker is doing his laundry, alone, at what we can only imagine is a very late hour, and tomorrow he will put that suit on and swing out into a city that does not know his face, does not know his name, and will never know what he gave up to protect it. That is not a fantasy. That is something far more moving than fantasy. That is faithfulness. For decades in comics and cartoons and films, Spider-Man has been described as the everyman hero, the hero who is just like us. But for the first 3 MCU Spider-Man films, that description was only partially true. Peter Parker had Tony Stark. He had access to some of the most advanced technology on Earth. He had Happy Hogan checking in on him. He had a school trip to Europe and a private jet and a suit that could do things most Avengers could only dream of. And those films are wonderful. That version of Peter is wonderful, earnest and funny, and genuinely good in ways that feel rare. But he was cushioned. There was always someone there, always a net beneath the fall. The Spider-Man of the comics, the one that made people fall in love with the character in the first place, had no net. He was a young man in a city that alternately needed him and resented him, who could never quite make rent, who loved someone he could rarely fully be present for, who carried grief after grief after grief and still found a way to make a joke while hanging upside down from a building. That Spider-Man understood something about life that the shinier version sometimes forgot. That doing the right thing is rarely rewarded. That sacrifice is usually invisible. That the most important choices we make are the ones no one else will ever see. Brand New Day looks like the first time the MCU has fully committed to that version of Peter. And the audience response, 1 billion views in 4 days, suggests that somewhere deep down, people were waiting for it. Perhaps without even knowing they were waiting. The trailer reveals something almost unbearable in its specificity. Peter lives next door to MJ, the girl he loved enough to erase himself for. The girl who, because of the choice he made, has built a life that has no memory of him in it. She lives through a wall he could press his hand against. She passes him in the hallway, perhaps the way strangers do. A brief polite smile, and then gone. And he remembers everything. There is a scene in the trailer, barely a moment, where Peter sees MJ at a party. She is with someone. She is laughing. She is, by every visible measure, okay. She is moving forward into a life that is hers. And the camera finds Peter's face. It does not linger. It does not need to. This is the specific cruelty that great Spider-Man stories have always been willing to explore. Not the cruelty of villains, the cruelty of consequence. The way that loving something enough to let it go does not make the letting go stop hurting. The way that doing the right thing and feeling the loss of it can exist permanently in the same breath. Peter Parker chose this, and he would choose it again, and it costs him every single day. That paradox, the willingness to keep paying a price you chose freely, is at the heart of why this character has endured for over 60 years. And it is, quietly, at the heart of something true about what it means to be a person of genuine integrity in the world. It is worth asking why this particular version of the story is landing so hard in this particular moment. Superhero fatigue is real. Audiences have grown weary of a certain kind of enormity, the kind where the stakes are always civilizational, the battles always operatic, and the emotional core always somehow just out of reach beneath the spectacle. What the Brand New Day trailer offers is something different, something smaller in the best possible sense. One man, one city, one set of losses he carries quietly through every ordinary day. The fights in the trailer are thrilling. The Punisher, the Hand, a tank rolling through lower Manhattan. But none of those images are what people are talking about. People are talking about the washing machine. People are talking about the phone on the rooftop. People are talking about a face at a party. There is a generation of people who have grown up understanding, on a bone-deep level, what it means to hold something together, while quietly falling apart. Who have learned that showing up, for work, for family, for responsibility, does not always feel heroic. That it sometimes feels like laundry at midnight, and a costume that needs washing, and a city that will need you again tomorrow, whether you're ready or not. For those people, and there are more of them than the entertainment industry sometimes remembers, Peter Parker is not an escapist fantasy. He is recognition. The trailer introduces one more dimension to Peter's story that deserves attention. His powers are changing. The trailer shows Peter developing organic web shooters. His eyes go entirely black in moments that appear linked to extreme stress. His body is doing something it has never done before, evolving or unraveling, or perhaps both at once. What makes this narratively extraordinary is what it implies. The human body, under sustained and unrelenting pressure, does not remain unchanged. It adapts. It compensates. It finds ways to survive that are not always graceful or controlled. And sometimes those adaptations come with their own dangers. Brand New Day appears to be literalizing something that is usually kept internal in superhero stories. The grief Peter carries, the isolation he lives in, the relentless commitment he maintains at the cost of everything else. It is not staying inside him neatly. It is coming out. It is reshaping him in ways he cannot predict and may not be able to stop. This is a story about what sustained sacrifice does to a person. Not just emotionally, entirely, and the fact that it is being told through the language of a superhero movie, through mutation and spectacle and the grammar of Marvel cinema, does not diminish it. If anything, it amplifies it. Because sometimes the largest truths need the largest canvases to be seen. So, why does everyone love depressed Spider-Man? Because he's not, in the end, really about depression. He's about what comes after it. He's about the morning after the hardest night, the suit going back into the bag, the window opening, the city below, still needing something it doesn't know how to ask for. There is a reason the oldest, simplest image of Spider-Man, a figure against an open sky, suspended between buildings, mid-swing, still carries the power it does after 60 years. It is not the power of invincibility. It is the power of return. He falls. Every time something pulls him down, grief, loss, the weight of everything he carries. And every time he catches himself. Not because it is easy, not because the pain has gone away, but because somewhere below him, someone needs what only he can give. That is not a small thing. In a world that can feel very heavy, that is not a small thing at all. The Brand New Day trailer is not showing us a broken Spider-Man. It is showing us a Spider-Man who has been broken and kept going and will keep going, not because the story demands it of him, but because he demands it of himself. And perhaps that is why 1 billion people pressed play, not to escape their lives, but to be reminded that the weight they carry, the quiet, invisible, unrewarded weight of showing up anyway, is not something to be ashamed of. It is, in fact, the most heroic thing there is. Spider-Man, Brand New Day, July 31st, 2026.